and welcome to Unglamorous Truths with the Downtown Girls. I'm Chandra.
I'm Crystal.
I'm Mebs.
And today I'm going to start off asking a question. What would you name your autobiography and why? At this point, you're very famous. Everybody wants to know about you. What are you going to tell them? I will start, okay? So I would name my autobiography My Life with Cheese because, first off, I love cheese. I mean, everybody knows that I just fucking love cheese. But also, my relationship with cheese, I think, is so indicative of my life period because sometimes I continue to go after things that are not good to me. I'm extremely lactose intolerant. Okay, I have gallbladder disease. I have no business eating cheese, but
got
God
beat with
damn
cheese.
it, dude, I love it. I love it. Why is everything that's supposed to be bad make me feel so good?
I love it.
So it's my life with cheese.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You can buy it. You can buy it soon, in 5 years.
Writing now. Okay. Well, I have, this could be many things, but I'll just start with where I'm feeling right now. Who knows if it covers my whole lifespan, but I would say the title would be I'm Unsubscribing. As a mantra, meaning I'm unsubscribing from your email list. I'm unsubscribing from your bullshit. I'm unsubscribing from that crazy ass, narcissistic ass parent. I'm unsubscribing from my own worry, my own doubt. I feel like my life has been a process of decluttering a lot of shit. And I grew up with a lot in the home that I had that was not healthy for me. And so I have a very unique POV where at all times, I'm always thinking, what is the optimal space for me to truly be my highest version of myself in a healthy way? It's something I don't take for granted. And so I'm always thinking, where can we Marie Kondo this bitch and let something go? Yes. Okay? Every day, what am I releasing that is not mine to have? Because I was given a lot, and a lot of that shit is not mine. I give your behavior back to you. So that is my title.
I love that.
I like that.
Yes.
Oh my God. See, I wish I had some time to really think about this. Like, I actually had a title. I'm just going to go with what I had like years ago when I thought about like, if I wrote a book, what would I title it? And it was African, American, and the In-Between.
Oh. Sounds like an NYU class.
It does.
That sounds like my Africana studies minor.
Yeah, because I definitely, the in-between is truly where I live. I spent the majority of my life vacillating between the two spaces, thinking that I had to choose one or the other until I got to the place I was like, I'm both though. Like, I am both, and my identity, my brand lives in both.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's why I started with this question today, right? Because, the title of your autobiography, that's how you want people to see you. That's how you want people to relate to you. That's how you engage with people. And that is your brand.
Mm-hmm.
And so today we are going to be talking about branding. Okay, now, I feel like, when we graduated, it was the height of the recession. We graduated college in 2010. Everyone graduated to no jobs. It was the beginning of the gig economy. Instagram kind of around that time just started to creep up and become what it is today.
Yeah.
And the conversation about branding was everywhere. Like, everyone was talking about my brand, my brand, my brand.
My brand.
And I feel like, for me, it was really it's been a tricky development. I mean, it started bad. I remember when we all had the same manager at a point, who we'll just refer to as Agent Orange because she's very litigious. And I was, going out for this audition, and I really felt like it wasn't right for me. And I said to her, I was like, I don't want to go because I just don't think it suits my brand. And this woman looked me dead in my face and said, "What brand?" And it broke my poor heart. I said, "Ma'am, good goddamn, what brand?" But like, honestly, what brand? Like, but why is branding even important?
I think it's an identifier. The crazy part about being in entertainment is that like we are essentially products the same way that like a Coca-Cola is a product or a Nike is a product. And when you hear those brands, you know exactly what the identity is. Coke is not Nike, Nike's not Coke. Or even Adidas and Nike. They both are apparel wear and shoe wear, but very different brand. So as a consumer, if you have that kind of understanding of those two products, you need to have that same kind of understanding of two different artists.
Yeah, that's some real shit. I feel like a brand, hopefully, I would say at its highest level is like coming from within of the artist, like an artistic brand. It's like what your vibe is meets alignment with how do people find you, right? Because it's like you have to know enough. It's like it's the strangest thing as an artist to be like, okay, I feel and I create from the inside out, but I do need to at some point look at the outside in. How do people get to me? You know, and I can't just say, oh, well, you know. And it's like, well, no, they don't know. They don't know
because
who you
it's
are.
two-part.
Yeah.
It's like how you see yourself and then how other people see yourself.
Yes. I heard this thing that I really love that made me think kind of differently about branding. It was like, branding is essentially what people say about you when you're not in the room. Right? Right? And then I started to
But you're not in the room, so how the hell?
But you don't know. But that's still your brand. I mean, your brand precedes you, right?
Yeah.
And it hangs out in a room after you leave. I mean, everyone has a personal brand. Like those gags of which friend is which friend on a trip. Are you the drunk friend? That's your brand, unfortunately, you know?
The mom friend.
Right.
Whatever.
Right. Which friend are you? But like, I guess sometimes I struggle with why actors need a brand. And is it counterintuitive? Like, does that limit what your capabilities are? You know? Like, if your brand is, okay, you're a mom. You play moms. But, like, that's not how you feel inside. Like, what do you do when your brand does not feel, the way other people sing does not feel aligned with how you're seeing yourself?
Yeah.
And have you experienced that?
Because you're a person at the end of the day. You're multifaceted. You're not a shoe. You're not a beverage.
You're not pushing product.
You're a person. And, like, you are a mom. You're also a woman. You're Black. There's so many different levels to your identity. And then a brand is like, well, do I have to kind of dumb it down to one thing, or how can I be all encompassing?
Yeah,
right.
Is that confusing?
I do think actors need a brand because I think everybody needs a brand now, and I think nobody wants to do artist development anymore, right? Like those days are gone. You know, agents and managers and A&Rs, whatever, like no one's building you. Everyone's expecting you to walk in already a built-in, settled brand, packaged up, ready to be sold. And I think that also exists for us, you know, as well. If you want to get any opportunities outside of acting, but even if you just want to work as an actor, like people want people who can bring in marketing, you know, like are people tuning in to see you because they identify with your brand. So yes, I do think we are past the just artist for artist's sake. Like I don't think you could do that anymore. I think you have to engage. Most of us do.
Because the other thing is like there's brands as an actor and then there's also brands as a writer. And it's like, you know, and they're different. Like as multi-hyphenates, we have different voices, right? Like I know for myself, like as an actor, I lend myself to like physical comedy, goofy, like just like that's where I like to play, right? But in terms of writing, I have a very different voice. Like I have sat with this because I have to teach it. So I've like already thought about this. But like, because I asked my students, but like my voice as a writer is I am obsessed with like dysfunctional family dynamics, like dysfunctional parents, dysfunctional siblings, and like seeing things fall apart there. And I also love the idea of a female on the verge of a not mental breakdown, but just a breakdown. Whoa, not mental, but just anything. I think those are two things that are very fun for me to watch. And I also relate to so I can write. And that's very different than acting. Like, I'm not going to say I want to go out for those parts necessarily all the time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So are brand, point of view, and type all the same thing?
That's a great question. I'm like, in my head, I'm working out like maybe brand then is like more for the performer and then POV is the writer. Because POV is the main, is what you lead with as a writer. Like, what's their POV? What's their POV?
And then there's type.
Like, what
which
kind
I
of
feel-
stories do you tell?
Right.
Right.
And that question as a writer was always difficult. I just fucking tell stories. Like, why do I have to tell one singular type of story? Like, I felt like you're trying to put me in a box.
Yes. And I remember when we had a discussion with one of our lit agents, and he told us, he was like, well, like friendship. No, he said, New York is your brand. New York is your brand. And I'm sitting here looking at this man. I'm like, well, I haven't lived in New York in like 6-7 years. So how the fuck is that my brand?
Right.
And like, who are you to be telling me what my brand is?
Right.
You know?
Right.
A location can't be a brand unless you live there your whole life and that's what your thing
I mean,
is.
but can it though? Because I do feel like
Yeah.
Scorsese, like Spike Lee, like
Right.
New York
That's
Is
true.
their brand.
Their brand.
Yeah.
You know? But I don't know if that was for us. And I think just kind of
Yeah.
even in that moment, I was so resistant to this person telling me who I was.
Yeah.
And it kind of reminded me of, once again, with Agent Orange, when she asked me, you know, because I was dating my now husband at the time, and she was like, well, you guys are getting serious, like, you know, maybe if you get married, like, what is, you know, we were just talking about him, and I mentioned that his father was from Panama, and she was like, oh, what's his last name? Because I think, you know, if you had a Latin, I'm sure she said Hispanic at the time, but, you know, a Latinx last name, yes, last name, it would further your career.
You are a black woman.
It
like, I'm confused.
But her point was, who would know? Who would know? You know what I'm saying?
And also,
if your name was Chandra Cortez, who would know?
right.
You know, Chandra Santiago, who would know?
But also, as a white woman, why are you telling anyone that? I mean, no one should really be telling anyone that. I think it's very problematic. But like, are you pretty much saying hide in plain sight with a different last name? That's really wild to me.
100%.
Or, I mean, I had an agent tell me to change my name entirely. She's like, Amebe Bayane is just too difficult and it doesn't roll off the tongue. She's like, why don't we go by Emmy Bay? And I was like, who the fuck is that, babe? Emmy Bay? She's like, yeah, that's catchy.
It does sound like a singer. Emmy Bay. I mean, it does.
I mean, you've got a lot of names.
I've gotten so much. Just like, and at the time I had like colored hair, and another agent was like, well, black girls don't have colored hair. So you're either going to have to go back to black if you want to do period pieces. And I'm like, what fucking period pieces am I going to do, bro? Like, what has come out so far that you could see me in? Like, I can't do a slave story. Like, what are you talking about? And also, why the fuck don't black people have colored hair? Where are you coming from with this information? I am livid, actually, at that man and that woman who told me to change my name to Emmy Bay. And I'm just like, you know what? That's I'm going to have a firm stance of, no, my name is Amebe Bayene. This is the name that I'm going to go by. And Mebs, because that's also my name. Like, that's just my nickname. But like anything other than that, miss me.
Yeah.
Well, that's sometimes the thing that scares me just with the word branding. I think I have an aversion to the word less than the concept because I have all these attachments to things where people have said things
triggers,
to me that trigger me. And so, like, what do you do when it feels like what your brand is not aligned who you are, or do you ever feel like you have to sacrifice parts of yourself?
Right. You know what? And I think there's also a possibility that we have attached so much of ourselves to this idea of a brand and made it too personal. Because I remember like one time hanging out with the Lucas brothers and we were just having a like casual conversation about like career stuff, and Keith was talking about, he's like, well, you know, like the twin thing, that's just our shtick. And in my head I'm like, a shtick? Like, but like I'm here to tell like artistic stories, and then I'm like, oh, but like he is fucking brilliant. Like he sees it. It's not personal to him. It's business. And he knows this is what is paying us, and we're going to milk it.
Yeah.
And then we're going to get to tell our stories through this vehicle that we've created for ourselves.
It's like hard though, because our work is so personal. And I feel like people get attached to the version of yourself you present. And then when you show up as your real self, then you're like throwing people off. Or
I feel like, I don't know, brand as a word doesn't bother me, but type does.
Oh,
okay.
And because brand to me, I feel like I have the inner vision to be able to relate to people what I represent and what my brand is. That feels like very much guided by me. But for some reason in my head, type feels like something someone puts on me, which is like, for example, I guess we all have our horror stories, but like there was someone that I took like a class at one-on-one back in New York back in the day. And it was like an acting class with a big casting director at the time. And she gave me these sides and it was for Basketball Wives. And I was like the pilot, right? There was a pilot.
Wait, the reality show?
No, there was literally a show.
Oh, I remember this.
called
I remember this.
Basketball
Okay,
Wives.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Okay.
And like I had to learn these parts about this basketball wife that was to me, very surface, very vapid. And yeah, and mind you, it wasn't like it wasn't a streamer where it was good, they had like substance behind the part. To me, it felt very on the surface. Like I'm a basketball wife, clickety clack in my heels, right? And I was like, if anyone that knows me, that is the opposite of who I am. And so I voiced something to her. I was like, hey, I want to learn the best that I can in this class. This was a few days of a workshop. It wasn't just an hour, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I would prefer a part that I actually feel like could be more meaty, more challenging, more that represents me. And she was like, well, this is your type. Like, you know, pretty girl. You can be the athletic wife. And I was just like, I was so horror struck. Like, I was just like, are you serious right now?
Because
Like,
you were attaching it
wow, yes.
to your identity, and
I
it
was
wasn't.
bitch.
Like who you are on the inside and what they see you on the outside are two different things.
It really is.
And it's like, what is selling? Like if you were on the screen on mute, like what would someone at home think of you? And then she'd be like, oh, tall, in shape, beautiful. Yeah, basketball wife.
It's just so crazy.
And it's like, no, I read books. And you're like, who says that basketball wives don't read books?
Right. Yeah, she shamed me. She was like, you need to always find a way into the part, and it's your job to figure it out. And it's like, yes, obviously, in the craft of acting, you should always do that. But this is also a business class. I paid you good money to figure out what my type and my brand is. And I'm telling you, this is not it.
And in situations like that, I'm always concerned that I'm cheating myself, but that I'm going to go so far down the wrong path trying to satisfy this part when I know on the inside that's not me, and that it's limiting, and that's not really what I can play, you know? And sometimes, I don't know, it does just feel like I remember my teacher telling me that because of my voice, you know, because I'm in the deep voice gang, that I was not going to be able to work until I was in my 30s because my face needed to catch up with my voice. So my type was always going to be misaligned and nobody was ever going to really be able to understand me. And ultimately, I don't know if it was the voice, but I mean, she was right. You know, right? Like I did not work in my 20s. But at the time when she said that, I was really fucked up over this. I was like, well, what does that have to do with anything? Like, why is this packaging so important? You know, like, shouldn't my talent be the one speaking before, you know? But it was like we were talking about the other day. All they look at first is a picture of you.
Yeah. And that's why it's so important, I think, especially as an actor, to have your version of a calling card, like, you know, so they can also feel you and not just see you. Like, they understand your personality, if it's comedy, what your type of comedy is. Like, that's why when we created Downtown Girls, the series, I feel like it took us leaps and bounds. Because if the same audiences and the same people in those rooms had just seen our headshots, they would have made some whack-ass show for us. We would have been the basketball girls or something, you know?
Not the basketball girls.
Well, I'm still mad.
Do they play or do they that title is misleading?
Well, yeah.
I also think a large part of what is difficult about finding your brand is attributed to not necessarily knowing who you are fully.
That part.
And for me, like, it took a long time for me to understand just me, who I was. And I was just in like identity crisis battle. It's like, you know, being first gen of like, I'm not Ethiopian enough. I'm not American enough. And I'm like feeling ostracized in all the spaces that I'm in. And a lot of it was self-inflicted, like finding ways that I did not relate versus leaning into the ways in which I did. And that's just, you know, my own shit that I had to work out.
Yeah.
But if I go into spaces always feeling like I don't fit in here, I don't feel seen here, how can I properly develop a brand? What fucking bitch, fuck a brand. What's my identity? Who am I?
Yeah.
That's real.
Yeah, that's kind of profound. I'm like having a moment. I'm like, maybe that's why I'm so averse to like anytime I get like sexy girl type parts, you know, because Meb and I were just talking the other day and I was like, I keep getting these auditions where it's like heavy sex in it. And I'm like, guys, I don't want to be just, you know, fucking, you know, on these things. I mean, unless it's, you know, I'm going to win an Oscar or I'm going to get like Halle Berry money, you know, swordfish money to show her tits. But I think because I just so don't see myself at all like hot girl type energy, you know? I just see myself so much more as like a weirdling thing, you know, this creature. But yeah, maybe that's why I'm so like, because when I see, I'm just like, why are you sending me this?
Learning discernment, like, and that it's okay to be like, I don't want to do this. Like, I just got sent out an audition recently for something that had nudity in it. And I was like, I looked at the director, I looked at the creator, and I was like, y'all, I am not going to be naked on screen for this man. Like, the man behind this project, do you know
I
what I'm talking about?
I think we had the same thing. Okay, carry on.
I said no.
Also, you know, the fact that you and I feel like get so many of the same things.
Right.
And I feel like type-wise and energy-wise, we are vastly different.
Right.
Like, I feel like we don't even lead with the same things comedically. Like, we
Exactly.
don't utilize the same parts of our body.
Nope.
The thing that we most have in common
Is the physical type.
We're light-skinned with, well, I have big eyes. I don't know. Your eyes are kind of big, too.
I got big eyes.
So, right. So, I'm like... Also, are we making determinations based on that, you know?
Right. That's what I'm saying. And that's why I feel like there's a difference between, for me, type is how other people are just like your physical type is like, let me label you. It's this quick, right? As opposed to like what you can bring to a role, what your energy is.
So you see brand as empowering.
Yes.
And okay.
Interesting.
And type is external for me. It's like a label.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yes. You know what? Yes. Because branding, I guess you do have some control, right?
Yeah, you can
like,
grab the ship.
On social media, you can control how people see you, right? You determine what.
You set the tone.
Yeah. You set the tone. And do you guys feel like you're at the point where you are doing that? Like, are you branding yourselves actively?
I don't know. I mean, I took pretty much a year hiatus from Instagram. As I guess I was going inward and figuring out who I was, not necessarily for Instagram, just for myself.
Yeah.
So I feel like when I do make like a consistent return, it will certainly be more authentic to who I am. Not saying that it wasn't in the past. I think my Instagram really does reflect me. Lots of me, not all of me though. Definitely not all of me. But I think it's a level of vulnerability that I'm not sure that platform is kind of a safe space. Like Instagram is just not really a safe. TikTok is so fun. I don't participate. I love TikTok because people are so real on that platform. Like I'm like, y'all really sitting here like you really woke up like this for real. Like this is not a show. This is not for play. And it doesn't matter. Like just normalizing normal shit. Instagram normalizes psychotic shit.
Like what?
People that are on vacation every fucking day.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, that is not real life. That is not real life.
Yeah.
And you get it in your head that like, oh, well, this is normal now. This is the bar of normal. So me working is abnormal. And I'm like, no, like, absolutely not. These are brand trips that they're taking. They're getting paid to be here.
Right.
Like, don't get it fucked up and thinking that they are living a normal life.
Right.
And you're not.
Right. And that sometimes is exhausting, you know, because at this point, I mean, Instagram is a major place to brand. And I mean, I think I read a statistic that the average employee has 5 times as many followers as the company they work for, right? So the people really have the power. You know, that's why these people are getting paid this, but like people don't know that that's like not real. And so everything is so focused on the results on Instagram and just social media, period. Well, I'm not on TikTok like you, so I don't want to speak ill of your favorite place. But, you know, on Instagram, like, yeah, everything is so result focused. And the result is always we're showing the best face, right? Like, it's always the best version of the product. There's never just like, I'm fucked up right now. Shit is not going good. You know, which I think could be a brand in itself.
Yeah. Last year, I think I had a moment where I was like very honest and I was just like, y'all, it's real out here. I'm struggling. Money sucks right now. It was hard. This is how I'm feeling. And it was funny because in my gut, I just had the moment to say that. And I remember my boyfriend was like, are you sure you want to post that? And I was like, yes. This is how I feel. Like, and I don't give a fuck. Like, what is it gonna do? He actually brought up my brand. He said, what about your brand? I was like, my brand right now is feeling. That's what my brand is this is how the fuck I feel. And you know what? I'm so glad I did that, because honestly, it led to so many things. Like, people reached out to me. They were relating to it. They were like, thank you for saying this, because that's how I'm feeling right now. I actually started a conversation with a friend because of that post that led to the sample pilot script that I wrote. Because I was open and vulnerable. She was like, oh my God, can we talk about this? We talked for an hour, and then I came up with my sample for Mom and I. And because I was like, wow, this is like not just me. This is like a collective conscious feeling right now. Everyone is feeling like a dragged through the mud, tired piece of shit.
Everyone is looking for connection.
Right.
That's ultimately what we're here looking for.
Yeah.
It's what life is about, and that's what we're using these platforms to attain. And it can become difficult when you feel like, oh, I don't relate to anybody. And then still trying to find the balance, because I'm not here saying that like now we need social media to just be all trauma porn.
Right.
Because like no one wants to, I don't want to open my app and see people crying every day.
No.
But like, what is the happy medium of like, be real.
Human.
Right. And so maybe you were saying that you feel like Instagram is not like a safe space. So how can you have like a vulnerability be like a part of your brain? Because that's a part of who you are as a human, right? Especially as artists. Like, vulnerability is kind of our strength in a sense, like being raw, being like a raw nerve is kind of the thing that makes us pop, that we can feel things at a moment's notice. And so like, how do you protect yourself, like, but also be vulnerable? Because for me, I know a thing is like, I won't show pictures, really show pictures of my kids on Instagram. Like, and I've spent a lot of time going back and forth about that. First off, because when they put Blue Ivy out, the way people was talking crazy about a baby was infuriating to me. And I was like, I'm not the one or the
really
two.
Gonna pull up to your house.
I'm not the one or the two.
And see you about what you said about my kids.
Like, I'm not
Yes.
you ain't finna talk about my beautiful children like that. But also, I'm always worried that like people, once you give people access to such intimate things of your life, then they feel entitled to it.
more.
Yeah. And it's like crazy, like even with the whole thing with, Rihanna, her baby, like, oh, when we getting them pictures? When we getting them pictures, sis? Like, bitch, she don't have to show, this is her baby.
Right, and then she gives you the pictures, and then y'all mad because she
Have a
called her
problem
baby
with it.
fine. And it's like, her baby is fine.
Her baby fine.
Like, let her baby be fine.
Let that boy be fine. So it's always tricky for me. It feels like too much. But I want to do
Yeah.
some things.
Yeah.
I feel you. I feel the same way. It's like I want to share me, but in the most healthy and safe way possible. Because like I'm a very private person. Like even with the people that I love, like there are things that you guys learn about me 10 years in.
Girl, ain't that the truth?
Like, come on.
I done live with this bitch.
Yes.
Okay. I done
Both
peed
of
while
y'all.
she was showering.
Oh, that's true. We're both
Scorpios.
Scorpios.
Yeah, Scorpio
The
gang.
most
I don't think I'm
private.
secretive. It's just like
No, you're private.
very
Both
private.
Private, yeah.
I keep things to the chest. I think I'll die with. Like, it's just who I am. It's not any shade to anybody. So it's like, if it takes this long for my intimate relationship, how the fuck I'm gonna give a user 305 on Instagram anything of value? But it's like, but it's not for you. It's really not. I realize it's not about you. It's about me.
Right.
It's a me season.
Ooh. Okay.
It really is. And like, it's like, and I'm less concerned about other people's criticism. Like, that's really not the fear. It's not about what people will say. It's just like, it's about me putting something out. Now it just lives here. It's information that just lives on the internet.
Right. Because there's that too. It's also like, all right, I don't mind being vulnerable occasionally. Because also, yes, it's exhausting. Like I started a business this last year, like teaching people how to pitch TV, and like that's a brand too. And I've had to figure out, what do I want the content to be? And for me to post so consistently for something, which is also exhausting, like it's like I can't share, my brand can't be vulnerability here, because I can't every single day wake up and be like, this is me, this is me, this is me. I don't have the energy for that level of content that needs to be shared to create a business brand. Like that takes a lot of energy. So I was like, okay, I'm going to find my rhythm with it. I'm realizing that a lot of people, when you get into a business lane, they just want something that adds value to their lives. So whether that's like helpful information, or like I started doing my little Jeopardy quizzes because it was like guess about like the industry, things that you didn't know. That I think people love. People also enjoy motivation.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of me waking up on that platform and being like, this is what happened to me, and like, and also this is what I'm going through today. It's like, I don't have it. I don't have it for you there. I might have it in my art. We might have it here. But like, I think there are different, it's okay to choose boundaries around in what places do you share.
Yeah. I think that is a really important point to make. What is my value add?
Right.
Like, me sharing this, is it self-indulgent? Or is it actually going to add value to someone's life, someone's experience?
Yeah.
And like, last thing I want to do is just be self-indulgent with my like deepest like feelings and stories. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think I went through that. Like, when, we got the Southside cancellation news. And when I was figuring out, first off, am I going to post anything? Am I going to say anything, right? Because plenty of people, shows just go away and, just not everybody has to write about it, right? Not everybody talks about it. Am I just going to wait for the creators to say something? Like, am I, just going to wait for an article to come out? Because I knew a little bit before, that it came out in the trades. And ultimately, I decided to wait until it came out in the trades first. To say something, because I didn't want to be the person to, break that. I didn't want, this felt like pressure. And I probably like wrote in my head what I was going to say 50 times, because I was so I don't want it to be self-indulgent, but I wanted to honor our fans who have been on this journey with us. I wanted to have like a proper goodbye, and I also wanted to get a little bit of shit off, because I was sad. I was heartbroken, like I think I really did experience like heartbreak maybe for the first time. I was like, oh, this hurts. This hurts so bad. And it was, I think probably that's maybe one of the most vulnerable things that I've ever posted. And I will say that I was like so touched by like the energy back from people, and just, so it's weird, as much as private as I am, is like, much as I don't like doing that, you know what I'm saying? I don't like people, but when I did it, and like as soon as I did it, I felt better too. Like I felt like I wasn't holding a shame, like, oh, I got canceled, I felt like I was unburdening myself, and like...
And you did it so beautifully.
Thank you.
I have to say that. You did it so beautifully, and you did it in the Chandra way, which is your brand. You did it with humor. You did it with levity, but it still had weight.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're ending it with your wigs. I was like, I know that's the fuck right, Chandra.
We have
I know that's right.
We have to. We had to lift it on up, because I definitely sat with that. And I was like, more about me. What do I want to give to the people today? How can I be of service today?
I think it set off a whole new conversation about the wig parade. I think it's something that you'll always be remembered for in that role, and
celebrated.
Yes,
for.
Celebrated. And also, it's just black hair and women's black hair all over your television screen, like HBO Max, Comedy Central, and you did that. That came from your brain. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm pretty sure no one wrote that for you. That was your decision.
That was me.
You know what I'm saying?
I want that hair.
That's some genius shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And it's funny because the hair became such a narrative in the show and even in your episode. You're in season 1. So it's like, you did that. You came to slay and you did. Like,
So, I want to chat a little bit on a personal level here. What is your brand? So I'm going to say for me, I would love my brand to be silly. Or one of Mebit's words is become one of my favorite words is unserious. I like
so unserious.
I like to be known as an unserious person. I I would like vulnerability, as private as I am, some vulnerability to be part of my brand. And also, I know this sounds crazy, but a little bit of cynicism, a little bit of curmudgeon energy. Because I think those are all parts of who I am. And like, I told him at like, I'm trying to do something new this year, right? Like, I'm really trying to do everything different. If I've been doing it one way for so long and it has not been working, this year I'm gonna do it differently, right? So in terms of my branding, I want to align very much with myself, in the parts that I'm comfortable sharing, so that it's always aligned and it can never fuck up, because I'm always gonna be me, right? If I lead with that, then I never have a issue of that's so off brand. How can the fuck can it be off brand? It's me. So I think those are the three things: unserious, a little bit vulnerable, and a little bit curmudgeon energy, a little Archie Bunker.
The first thing that came to me was spicy. I'm a spicy bitch.
You are.
I really am.
Yeah.
I got a lot of bite. Just a lot there. First gen, for sure. It's truly a part of everything that I do. And it's a lens in which I do view and experience the world, especially this country. If there was a third, a cheerleader for people. Like, I love to love, especially my friends. And I'm a hype you to fuck up. Like, I can be your hype man for sure. So yeah, spicy first gen cheerleader.
I like that.
Nice.
Woodlang?
I would say that this is such a powerful question.
It is.
I would definitely say goofy. And it's just something it's just literally, I can't help it. It's my tone. It's like what I do with, like, when I'm in certain spaces. And yeah, the fun in that. I would say vulnerability as well.
A little bit or a lot of it?
In the work?
Because you're pretty open.
I'm open, yeah. And I would say a lot of it. I actually feel like that is something I want to lead with, to give other people permission to continue to be vulnerable. Because I can do it pretty naturally. I don't get freaked out about it. So it's just like, thank God. I thank my mother, Robin, the angel, for that, because she was open with me every day of my life and modeled it so beautifully. And she was like, it's powerful to be open. It's powerful to speak. And she would cry every day. And like I said, she's a Cancer. So a lot of it was happy tears. Love you, Mom.
That's the difference. I came from a house of, you don't tell nobody nothing.
No. Yeah. That's the difference. Yeah. My mom was like, girl, say your feelings. My mom talks to people on the public bus. Like, she probably, Mom, we both need to stop talking so much. But like, to me, I think that's a power. I think it's a gift. So, like, I have no problem being very vulnerable in my brand and my work. And then I would say the third thing is connected to that. I really care about people being the underdog and finding triumph in a moment in their life, right? So I don't know how to say that in one word, but I guess it would be like that feeling of victorious, like victory after, some darkness. Even though I'm goofy, I've been through a motherfucking lot. So like, I really do want to tell stories and be involved in stories that show people kind of like being victorious in a season in their life after some struggle.
Yeah. That suits you.
Yeah.
That suits you. You always celebrate the victory. And I always appreciate that about you. 'Cause that's not a strength of mine. And I always love that. Crystal gonna come through and be like,
no, we're gonna take
we
pictures.
We did that. We did that. And I'm like, did we do that?
Yeah.
Did we?
We did.
I don't know.
And I'm over here finding all the ways we did not do that.
Right. I'm like, no, we gotta celebrate.
Perfect. So what is a downtown girl? What is the brand of a downtown girl?
That's a scrappy bitch as downtown girl. Okay, she isn't by any means necessary. She gonna get it done. Okay.
Period.
All right. She's the girl in the shootout that's standing up. That's like, this is not. I'm in a transitional period.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not my real life. She's delusional a little bit.
And also, I always say, delusional meets such an inner vision of self that to the outside world it is delusional. It's like you might find yourself in spaces that where people looking at you like, bitch, why are you here? It's like,
ultimate manifester.
I am supposed to be here. So I'm going to be here until you get it. Okay. And I'm going to keep showing up every day until you get it. So yes, like it's like the girl that sees a clear vision for herself before anybody else does.
Yeah. I think a downtown girl is like a little bit tough, but only because she has to be. Only because she has
Real
to be.
shit.
A lot of bit vulnerable. A downtown girl is a very good friend.
Yes.
Is a strong advocate for her friends. And that is a loyal bitch. A downtown girl. Loyal ting ting ting.
I remember one thing we used to say, and like when we were pitching the show, about our like where we were at that time in our lives. It was like, I may not have money, but I'm not poor. Okay, I'm rich in a lot of things, baby. And you're just sitting here using money as the meter upon which to judge me.
Now let's transition and talk about Bootleg Fabulous, which is our little segment where we give fun hacks to you. So today, I want to know your favorite beauty hacks. Okay, when you're trying to look crude, but you really don't have no money, let's think back, go back in time. And so I will start. I really have two. But one of my favorite hacks was, okay, so you know when your skin's getting oily, right, and you need those little blotter things. But those blotter things were like $5. They go very quickly, and I have very oily skin, so I was tired of paying for them. So when you use a public restroom, you know, they have the seat covers. So you just dig into them. You have to dig into the middle because you don't want one that's been exposed to the air and the germs and the earth. So you go to the middle and you pull out one of those seat covers and they will get the fucking oil up out of your skin.
Oh, yes.
You can just rip them, take this. So when we were living in Harlem, I used to do that all the time. And I would take them home, put that shit in my purse, take it home, cut that shit up so that it was essentially the, you know, oil blotters. And just use that. Yes. And I also love going to Sephora and getting sample perfumes. You know, they can't deny you. They got to give you them little samples. So you can just go to different Sephoras over and over and get as many samples as you need.
Absolutely.
Never buy a bottle.
That is my life hack. Sephora, girl, thank you. We thank you. You are doing a public service because my favorite thing is to, you know, for those of y'all trapping and starting in the industry, trying to like do glam or do things for events or do things for shows, I swear by a good Sephora 1 hour makeup session there instead of like necessarily like hiring an MUA to come to your house. Or if you can't do makeup, like makeup is not my, as Meb like to say, my ministry. You know, like I don't like to do my face. So I'm happily, you know, to give that away. And so I'll book an hour session. It is $60 and they will get you right. And like also a lot of those makeup artists are professionals in the business that are hustling. Like they actually are just looking for more clients in LA and New York. And so like, yeah, I actually found someone who I am now working with privately through the Sephora, you know, good for you, girl. Got off the grid. But yeah.
I got a lot because
I know you do.
I just guerrilla style my makeup. I learned from YouTube. I actually prefer to do my own makeup. I don't like when people do my makeup because I feel like they don't know me. Like, you don't know my brand. No. You don't know my fucking face, bro. Like, they be giving me, they go just like the shape of my eyebrow. I'm like, no, my fucking eyebrow takes vision, all right? You needed a fucking imagination for this. Don't just go by what you see, bitch.
Right.
But early days before I discovered setting spray, water. I would flick, and this is before I even knew like what a setting spray was. I just knew that for some reason, splashing water on my face made it look better. And then I discovered, oh, there's this thing called setting spray. I'm like, bitch, you thought you invented something? But that is a testament to like the power of setting spray because it's necessary. Like when you just finish makeup, it's like, I kind of feel ashy, and then just like sprinkle some fucking agua from the sink, bitch. And be like, yay.
Yes, it's a free one.
It's a free one. But I also like remix products. Like I don't care what it says on the packaging. I care what it looks like on my face. So I use like the setting powder for my contour as eyeshadow. I use a pink eyeshadow as blush. Like it's really about how does this look on my face? I don't really care what the label is. I'll just pick things up and I'm like, oh, that actually looks great, right? Okay, then that's gonna be my blush from now on.
Yeah, I mean, who says that it's all skin? Like,
Yeah.
if it works on different parts of your face, who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Meg about to get herself a little YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
Tutorial.
I was like, if I fucking recorded this, like it will not be like these YouTube girlies that are like all like, put together. I'd be cursing at myself, talking crazy, screaming, yes, bitch, you did that.
That's probably what they want.
That's a brand.
That's your brand.
That's your brand.
Using eyeliner sometimes for the ends because I don't really have much ends. We start strong, but we don't have much of a finish here. So I'll just use an eye because it's really dark. So I'm like, that is what I need at the end because you kind of have to have like that gradient feel. Mm-hmm. But I mean, this is not a makeup show.
You can talk about eyebrows. I'm sitting like,
Right.
she can talk about eyebrows all day. Well, on that note, we'll end here. Keep your eyebrows right. That is our show. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching us or listening to us. My name is Chandra, and you can find me at Chani.
My name is Crystal, and you can find me at _Chris.
I'm Amebe. You can find me at Amebe.
And you can find us and information about our podcast at Unglamorous Truths. And also, you can find our podcast wherever you listen to yours.